Hi, I'm Paul, the Happy Gilder. Before I crack on with this week's video, I just want to announce that my good friend and pretty much mentor and teacher has just announced that he's going to be doing online classes. So I've put a link in the description where you can sign up, and here's the video advert. Now, I want to share as much knowledge as I can, but my knowledge is finite, and I honestly don't think Dave's is. He's without a doubt the best glass artist in the world, but in my opinion, he's the best artist in the world. So this isn't a paid promotion. He hasn't asked me to do this. I just want to get as much knowledge out there as possible, and if anyone is serious about taking this up as either a profitable hobby or as a business venture, this is just essential stuff. He's the guy who taught me, and that's what kick-started me on the journey I'm on. But that out the way, I'm going to move on and let's crack on with my video. Hi, I'm Paul, the Happy Gilder. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to create a piece using the techniques that I've covered in some of my previous videos, and I'm going to do that start to finish, covering the cost and the materials used and the time it takes to do it. And then at the end, what I'm going to have is a product that will be easily created within a day and can be sold on like an Etsy shop or something like that. But before I get into that, if you'd like to see any of the work I've created over the years, I've put a link to my Instagram in the description. There's also a link to my Etsy shop where I'm selling some of my vector designs. Also, if you do follow the channel and end up creating stuff, I'd love to see what that is. So if you've got an Instagram account and you wouldn't mind just hashtag Happy Gilder, anything that you make, I'd just be really interested in seeing it. So anyway, going to get cracking on and get started. Right, so I'm going to start off in Photoshop, and what I've got here is just a JPEG image that I downloaded off Google. So if I go to image and size, this will show me the kind of properties of this file. Now, what I want to make is a 300 dpi 8 by 10 inch canvas. So firstly, let's just look at what the pixel count is here. Now, if I just change this from 72 dpi to 300 dpi, you'll see that's just pushed this pixel count up, made this image massive, pushed, well, all of the kind of qualities are going to kind of deteriorate. The best way to enlarge an image is very gradually, because pixels are small squares, and if you choose to enlarge an image by 4 times its size, it will make that pixel 4 times its size. If you make it if you make it an extra 10% in size, it interpolates that growth. So you just get kind of better results when you enlarge stuff gradually. So what I'll do first is I'll start by converting it to 300 and changing my pixel count to 1000. When I click OK, you'll see that absolutely nothing has happened here. Now, although the DPI is different, that's the dots per inch, the pixel count's exactly the same. So all that's changed really is the physical size depending on how this is printed. So looking at that now, that is 300 DPI, we can see in our inches how big this actually is and how big we need to go. So I'm going to gradually push this up, probably say an inch at a time at first. So just go 6 inches first, then 7, and then carry that on up to the size that I want it. Now, this I can tell isn't going to be, when it's at its maximum size that I need it, it's not going to be the right aspect ratio. So I'm going for 8 by 10, so let's just... So now, just one last adjustment. Now when I go to 8, my image is now bigger than the height that I need it, but that's fine. That's easy enough to sort. So that's 8 inches by 11.5 or something like that. Now, the way we can get this to 8 by 10 is a couple of ways. So firstly, you can either go to image, canvas size, or I always use shortcuts, but on the demos, I'll go through the menus, but it's worth, if you're not used to Photoshop, when you do a do anything, it shows you what the shortcut keys are to get there. So you can just push Control Alt and C and that will bring up your canvas size. Now if I go to inches and then want to put this down to 10, what that's telling me at the moment is it's set that it's going to come in from the top and the bottom. You can choose for that to come up from the bottom or down from the top or whatever, but either way you haven't got a great deal of control over it. So the way I would prefer to do this is to go to my crop tool, and then on these drop downs you've got ratio, and then here I'd put 8 by 10, and then when I crop it'll be fixed at that, and then I can drag it to exactly where I want it in the frame, and I think that's about right. I want more off the top than I do off the bottom. So I've got the image that I want to the right DPI and the right canvas size. So now I just want to make a couple of adjustments. The first one is I want to check the tonal quality of this image. So if I press, I'll do this through the menu, image adjustment levels, which is Control L or Command L if you're on a Mac. Now what this histogram is showing your shadows, your midtones and your highlights. And this great big gap here says that it's quite underexposed, and we could push this and push some more light into it. Now if I just push that up to the point where that starts to peak, that's looking a lot better. If there were peaks along here, the way to kind of gauge whether or not you're damaging the image is if you hold the Alt key and do this, it will show you where you are compressing colours. So if I push this all that way, you can see that that's having a sort of detrimental effect on all of those. But if I just push it up to this point where they're going up, it's just a couple of highlights on his teeth and a couple of highlights on the door frame. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to go with it. So just press Control 0 or Command 0 to just fit this on the screen. And what I want to do now is get this into a format that's going to be easy for us to etch on the back of a bit of glass. So to do that, go to Image Mode and firstly convert it to grayscale. Click OK to discard the colour information. And I'm going to go to Image Mode Bitmap. This is the method I'm going to stick with. I think this is what will be default, but if not, it will be in this drop down here. I'm going to go for half-tone screen. When I go to OK, that takes me through to some options. So if I just go with what would be default, which would be, I think it's 20, 45 and round, and I click OK, you can still see that it's a photo, but if I zoom in, that photo is made up of loads of small dots. That's not really any good to us, especially with the method that we're going to use, because you could do this on a laser and that'd come out lovely, but if you were going to do it by the vinyl picking method, that's going to take you days. So what we need to look at is how we can make this easy to prepare, because like I said, this is going to be a sort of end-to-end tutorial that's timed so that you can make a product quite quickly that could sell on Etsy or something like that. So if I go into here, first thing I'm going to do is change round to line, and what that's going to do is make this out of solid black lines. So I'll show you what that's like with the current settings, even though that's not what I'm going to use. So now if I zoom in, instead of the dots, these are individual lines making up this image. So I'll press Control 0 to pop that back on screen, and I'm going to press Control Z to undo. That's what I want, because I want to be able to grab some black in one area and then just pull all the lines through. But that's going to not work with something so intricate as the settings we've got there. So if I go back in here, go to Bitmap, OK. I like the angle, I liked it being a 45-degree angle, but it's the frequency here, and that comes down to how many of these lines are in an inch. Now, I don't think that means there's 20 lines in an inch, but the lower this is means the fewer there are in that inch. So I'm just going to go right down to 5 and see what that looks like. And that, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. When you've got close up, it's not going to look like much, but it's an 8x10 mirror that's going to be seen from a distance, and that's what it will look like when people see it on the wall. Now what we've also got to kind of take into account is I'm doing this on a picture of Jack Nicholson from The Shining, but products that are always popular are personalised products, you know, and if all you have to do is get a photograph of somebody to offer personalised mirrors as a service, then it's an easy thing to advertise, just getting a couple of pictures off Google first to show that you can do it, and then the requirement for someone buying the product is to provide a photo that meets your specification. But for now, this is what I'm going to go with, so I've just got to convert it back first from bitmap to grayscale, keep the size ratio, then I'm going to save that as a JPEG. And before I take this across into Vinylmaster, just going to do one last thing, and that is just because of a kind of technical thing in Vinylmaster where it would prefer it if you've got a solid border. So what I'm going to do here is go to select all, or Control and A, and that's put a selection all around the outside of this image. And I'm going to go to Edit and Stroke, and I'm going to choose to stroke the inside of this selection with a black line. So you choose the colour here, choose the width of the line here, I'm going with 20 pixels, just click OK, and you can see now that's got a black line around the inside. You're not going to see this because this will be the part where it's framed, but it just helps the software know when it's kind of vectorizing that there's just that line to follow. So that's good. Just going to save that down, jump over into Vinylmaster, and let's create a new document. So these are always the document settings when I open it. I haven't looked into whether you can set your own preferences, but all you need to do is highlight these and put in the document size that you need. Then go to File, Import, File. And this is the one I want to do. So just close that down. Drag it from the corner. And just click Vectorize. So what it's done is selected my white and ignored my black. So I want to right click on the black to make sure that's selected, and then right click on the white to make sure that's deselected. And then just click Trace. Now this is what it's offered me, so something's gone wrong here. I don't know what has gone wrong, but I'm going to stick with it because, you know, I think it helps to sort of leave problems like this in, because then I can figure out what it is and hopefully show you guys if you encounter the same thing. So if I click accept, what it looks like is that it's actually cut out the inverse of what this is. So at the moment, what is black should be white, and vice versa. So what I can do is click white, and for now obviously that makes that vanish, but then I can put something black in the background to bring that forward. So if I go to my square shape and get right up into the corner, drag that, and that's put it in front of it, but I can then arrange that so that it's placed behind the white object. So I go Arrange, Order, Center Back. And that's fine. That's not going to cut anything twice like it would have done if I'd have kept both the black and the white selected. It just means that it's going to cut the path around the white. And that doesn't matter. It works absolutely fine. But that's just a kind of fix for something like that. I don't know why it did it, but maybe you can tell me in the comments if you know anything about this software. I only kind of use it for the basics that I show you on here. But then it's a case of going to File, Cut, send that to the cutter, and then with our standard settings I would have it rotated as it is so that it's using up the least amount of vinyl across here, and always have it set to mirror, and then send that to cut. So vinyl's cut, and that took about 18 minutes. So adding that to the time it took to prep the file, probably up to about 25 minutes now. So moving on to some of the costs. I've got the mirror that I'm going to use. Now I buy these from a glass company, and I normally buy 8x10 mirrors, and it's just around about £55. So let's I'm not very good at maths. So £5.50 for the mirror. I've just got an 8x10 picture frame. I got this from the range and that's £3.19. So I can't do that maths off the top of my head, but we're not at £10 yet. So what I'm going to do is apply the vinyl to the back of the mirror. And this is a process I've covered in quite a few videos. So I'm just going to leave a link up there, but I'll go through it in a time lapse so you can see me do it, and I'll time it obviously so we can see how long it takes. So, all picked. This took 30 minutes and 30 seconds. And I've left this on a radiator for about an hour. And what I won't do is take that into consideration when it comes to the timings. And the reason for that is because that's an hour that I could be doing something else with. You know, so far up to this point, to get to here, it's taken an hour. So I could have done another one of these in that time. It's pretty much the same as say, waiting for the paint to dry. I wouldn't consider that as part of the process of how long it takes, just because it's something you could put aside and then crack on. So anyway, I'm going to put this in the sandblaster, time that, and then take it back indoors and paint it. So here's the glass after the sandblasting's been done. That took just shy of 10 minutes, but I don't think that's an accurate timing in terms of what it would take someone else to do. It's just that my compressor is only 50 litres, so basically I have to sandblast for a minute, then wait for the compressor to fill up. But if you've got a decent compressor that's good enough to run a sandblaster, something like this will take less than 5 minutes. So I've got my black Vinylmaster paint, my happy little 1-inch brush, and all I'm going to do is just paint the back of this with the Vinylmaster enamel. And I'll time it just because I've been timing everything, but I imagine it's only going to take a couple of minutes. So let's go. Right, there we have it. 1 minute, 45 seconds. So I'll leave that to dry, pop it in the frame, and then see how the finished thing looks. Okay. And here's the finished piece. So nice little project that you can do in just over 2 hours. It's debatable as to whether or not I should have timed the vinyl cutting process, but it's something I'm a bit anal about, so I watch it just in case it plucks any of the bits of the vinyl. But if you're going to take that out, it comes in at less than an hour and less than £10. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and click the little thumbs up icon, and please share it with anyone else who you think might enjoy it. So till next time, cheers.